Welcome to the Beantown Podcast for Saturday, March 9th. Quinn David Furness coming to you live from 817 St. Paul Street, the host with the most. Welcome to my show. I am the creator, the producer, the writer, the editor, the best boy, the key grip, the caterer, all that good stuff of Quinn David Furness Presents the Beantown Podcast, or the People's Podcast, that is affectionately known, one of Baltimore City's top 500 podcasts and your leading source for misinformation. Probably now featured on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Player FM, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, BeantownPodcast.com. Check it out. We got the Beantown blog, all that good stuff. You know where to find us. BeantownPodcast@yahoo.com. That's Beantown, BEAN2 podcast at yahoo.com for your concerns, your grievances. Well, a minute in, that's pretty good for we forgot one thing. Listener discretion is advised when you're listening to the Beantown Podcast. Number one, we'll occasionally use some apoplegic language. And number two, the podcast is objectively terrible, although it's going to be made a little bit less terrible when we are joined today by special friend of the podcast. Let's see if we can get this right. In some circles, a co-creator. In other, I said co-creator, not procreator. In other circles, a lead guitarist and vocalist. In other circles, and in today's circle, accountant extraordinaire, tax auditor to the stars, Matthew Fiedler. Welcome back to the Beantown Podcast. It's been a couple months. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. As always, I feel like the need to preface my abilities. I know nothing about taxes. I'm not specifically a tax auditor, just a financial statement auditor. So I want to throw that out there before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Now, Matthew, you didn't go to business school. Is that right?
Oh, I did. Granted, it was a small school, and I didn't end up getting my MBA. That's still in the game plan for the future. But no, I got my bachelor's in accounting, and yeah, that's fun stuff.
Hey, while I have you here, did you get the TV guide this week?
I did not. In fact, I don't think I've really watched any TV probably in the last few months. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I don't own one either, but there's this ad for this company that I'm probably going to buy a lot of stock in. It's called Jitterbug, and I'm just learning about it now. Jitterbug flip phone, no contracts, no cancellation fees. They're advertising the all-new Jitterbug Smart 2 with plans with data as low as $17.48 per month. Long-lasting battery. I don't know. It looks pretty good. What are your thoughts on the flip phone?
I think that the new form factor of there's a Samsung phone coming out called the Fold, and everyone's freaking out how it's a foldable phone. But I don't know. That Jitterbug sounds pretty enticing, and it's foldable as well. Kind of a nod to the nostalgic texting days in all of us, right? Texting on a flip phone, though, is hell. Let's be honest. That's not preferable by any means.
Well, I'll say this. The Jitterbug, whatever it was called, Smart 2 series, was advertising its new easy voice recognition texting software. So,
wow, voice to text. That's pretty high tech.
Yeah, well, don't underestimate the Jitterbug Smart 2 series because they're cutting edge.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How many buttons does it have? I feel like you see those ads for like the senior, not to step on anyone's toes, but there's like a phone that's geared towards more so the older demographic or the senior demographic where there's less buttons, so it's like less intimidating. Is that kind of what the Jitterbug is?
Are you bringing this up because I'm turning 24 next weekend?
Well, I don't know. You are kind of getting up there.
I've never been good at texting. If my iPhone didn't have autocorrect, you'd think I was speaking Swahili or something. It'd be like the dolphin clicking noises.
Wait, I don't think dolphins click.
What are you talking about? Dolphins are clickers.
Is it really clicking?
What else would they be doing?
I don't know. I mean, like, I get what you're saying, but I don't know if it's defined as a click, is it?
You ever see that movie Click with Adam Sandler?
Yeah, well, yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with dolphins, does it?
I had a roommate in college. That was his favorite movie. I never understood it. He would watch it frequently.
Is that the movie where he like can control time with a remote?
Yeah,
that gets stuck.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I finished it, but I do. It has is it a John Voight cameo?
Hey, you're asking the wrong guy.
Oh.
Now, for those of us who don't know, John Voight's daughter is whom?
Angelina Jolie.
That's right. Yeah. We're
How
information
about that? I know
sharing.
something.
Oh, come on. You got an accounting degree, a 6-figure salary job, a Roth IRA like you wouldn't believe. You've got it all. Don't deprecate yourself.
I have about half of the things that you just mentioned.
3-figure salary job. That's tough.
Well, I meant out of those 3 things, about half of those 3 things are true.
All right. Fair enough. Hey, what do you say we talk taxes? What do you say we release my taxes live on the air? How does that sound?
Well, let's do it.
All right, let's jump in. Let's lead off with our politics lead. As everyone knows, we love to talk politics on the Beantown podcast. So the Republican tax bill, I was actually doing some research on this about 20 minutes ago, thinking, okay, this was a last year thing, right? 2018. It actually passed in 20...
You probably know more than the IRS does about the tax bill at this point.
Oh,
I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh, we're going to get to the IRS in a little bit. Trust me. We got some zingers for those guys. Turns out the tax bill was actually 2017. But what a lot of people will come to realize is that its first kind of full year in the rotation is the 2018 tax year. It got traded mid-season, if you will. It re-signed a contract in the off-season, 5-year deal, $40 million. It's getting its first full season under its belt. So, Republican tax bill of 2017, first full year of implementation. Matthew, in your opinion, what's worked well, what hasn't worked as well?
The weird thing about tax bills and just economics in general, because this kind of goes to a different field of play. This is more like econ, and economics, even though it's like touted as a science, there's some philosophy behind it as well. But I would say that you're not really going to know the effects until a few years into it. But in that same vein, there's projections that don't paint it out to be very great. At the end of the day, you have 2 different schools of thought, and this is being very, this is generalizing. But you have people that think that taxes should increase and those that think that should go down. And there's different reasons why they think that. And at the end of the day, I would say that Democrats and Republicans are ultimately trying to get to a similar place, but their ways of going about it are vastly different and for different reasons.
So it seems like one of the big criticisms of the Republican tax bill was that it was going to be good for your average American in the short term, but really bad in the long term. Now, what we've been hearing, at least out of national media coverage, early returns, no pun intended, have been not quite as positive for your average American as we thought. Is that because it's actually not been as good, or is that just the way national media has been covering it?
I think that the average American doesn't understand how taxes work. Let's say in your situation, you're filing your taxes and you go through all the steps, you put in your W-2, and you get to the end of it. And if are you using TurboTax? Is that the software you selected?
I sure am.
Okay, how about that? I did too. But at the end of the questions and the filing, and they're checking how many tax breaks you can get, the average American will look at the refund amount and be like, hey, I got a refund of, let's say, $500 last year. I'm only getting a refund of $300 this year. I didn't see any benefits from the new tax bill reform. Ideally, that doesn't mean anything. The amount of money that you get back is the difference between what you should be paying in and what you did. So, I guess to put it pretty blankly, if I am supposed to pay the government $1,000 over the course of a year, and I paid in $1,500, I should get $500 back, and that's just how it is. If I only put in $1,200, then I get $200 back. So people are looking at their returns as how much like the overall tax bill is affecting them. Technically, you should calculate your effective tax rate, not the amount of return you get back.
So what we're looking at here, I wasn't paying attention to what you said, was you end up getting a little bit more per paycheck because you're paying a little bit fewer taxes, and then that means that your refund at the end ends up being a little bit less, but perhaps you saw the gains throughout the year in incremental amounts on your bi-monthly paycheck.
Yeah, that's fair. And keep in mind, this is pretty broad. I mean, everyone has their own different tax issues or stories, because at the end of the day, if we want to make it as simple as possible, and this is me kind of throwing my fellow tax brethren under the bus, but the easiest way to impose a tax would be a flat tax on everybody, and it would be proportionate to what they make, and that seems like the most straightforward way to go about it. However, because of all this legislation, and there's different caveats for, like, if you have a mortgage, if you have business expenses and what have you, it will affect everyone a little bit different. But look at it this way. Let's say you're paying the government to live in the USA. You're paying rent, okay? And the government says you have to pay, to keep it simple, Quinn, you have to pay $1,000 a year to live here for rent.
I'm white, so I'm white. I shouldn't pay rent.
You don't want to pay rent?
Well, that's the caravan, I think, would probably do that.
A lot of people just don't want to pay tax. I mean, that's when you look at it in terms of, and this might get into more political than actually what we're looking at as far as refunds and how it affects us. But the political side would be, well, I feel like, yeah, tax is necessary. It sucks. I mean, I'm not the first person to be like, take my money, but to pay for, like, government process, protection, and things of that nature, it's important. So let's say you're paying for those fees. You're paying for protection, legislation, basically to safeguard America as a whole, and in part other countries, because we give aid to other countries as well. So let's say you have to pay $1,000 a year for that, right? If you say that you have certain exemptions when you fill out your I-9, when you have a new job, let's say you have 2 or 3 or 4, that's going to affect how much is withheld from your paycheck. And ultimately, what's kind of given to the government as the year progresses. If you overpay, you get a refund. If you underpay, you have to pay taxes in at the end of the year. The accounting side of me, or the more fiscally responsible side of me, says I want that number to be 0, because 1, I don't want to have to pay in, at the end of the year, and 2, if I get money back at the end of the year, that's money that technically the government's been holding, and I haven't been getting interest on in my bank account, which would be like probably 0.003 cents. But
yeah,
but
that's
still, you want
true.
to be technically 0. You don't want a refund at the end of the year.
I opened a fixed term 36-month CD about, I don't know, 9-10 months ago. I think I made like $4. So if anyone out there is thinking, I'm tired of making 1 cent a year off of my savings account, fixed term CD might be the wave of the future.
That's the way to go, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of people assume, as part of the Republican tax bill, a new higher standard deduction for this year might mean more money in our pockets. Might not be the case. Talk us through why.
It kind of goes back and forth because there's, in place of the standard deduction, I think it was around $6,000 in 2017, and then 2018, I think it's just a flat 12. And by doing that, they made taxes a lot easier probably for some people that would choose to itemize. But I would say overall, your mileage may vary. It really depends on the type of person. For most Americans, it's probably not going to change a huge amount. For me, I was able to pay off my student loans in the prior year, but you can't claim any of that interest that you paid on student loans. That was one of the caveats in the bill. So there's a few things tucked in there that we had to kind of trade off, I guess, as Americans, to get that larger standard deduction. But
while we're on the topic of standard deductions, what is a standard deduction?
So my understanding of this is the government saying, this is how much money you can make, and we're gonna let you have that much and not technically get taxed. Now, people that make under that, depending on certain things that occur during the year for them or state taxes, they still might have to pay. But essentially, the government's saying you should be able to live on $12,000 a year and you should be okay. That's a very boiled down way to look at it. But anything in excess of the 12, that's basically what will be your AGI or your adjusted gross income.
$12,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but it used to be less than that.
It's not. But to be fair, they're not trying to say, don't give us any money. I mean, they're just saying this how much is going to be allowed before taxation is imposed.
This is blowing my mind. We're learning so much. I feel like we should teach a financial literacy class.
Yeah, I think that's the last thing everybody wants. But
oh man, it could be like half comedy act, half you actually learn something. Learning through comedy. The Matthew Quinn financial literacy seminar.
Yeah, I think there's probably a catchy title in there somewhere.
Yeah, we're gonna brainstorm this summer. You got let's see, 2 more questions here about this whole politics stuff, and then we're going to dig into my returns. One thing the Republican tax bill of 2017 doesn't seem to have changed is the forecast on the ballooning national debt. Does it really even matter at this point what our debt is? Because you hear about it going up. You hear about, Obama added $74 trillion to the debt. Trump's adding 2 gazillion. Talk to us about the debt.
I think most Americans have lost track at this point how much is being added. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know what the total sits at right now. It's into the trillions, obviously, but.
So why should we care?
Yeah, this goes into deeper political sides. Obviously, people are going to probably be politically charged on this answer specifically. It would be nice to pay down that. Me as an individual, I hate having debt. A lot of the companies that I help audit, debt is a necessary thing to have because it generates more cash flow. In terms of being a government, cash flow is very important, especially because there's a lot of jobs in America that that are government based. However, it seems like probably the more important thing to focus on is the debt in terms of trade, and that's in relation to like trade with China, and I think that's probably been where a lot of people have been focused on, especially in the last probably 2 years, and last year specifically with all the talks of tariffs and all that. It's kind of a pretty charged subject. I personally don't think it's going down anytime soon. I think the debt will continue to build. Now, that's not to say that we should just keep stacking onto it. I don't think this tax reform bill is a fix. I think the Republicans kind of hoped in general that it would encourage more infrastructure, innovation, like kind of feeding into jobs at home opposed to jobs abroad. And a lot of people saw that, specifically Democrats, I think, saw that as like a very nearsighted approach. Because if you have, instead of like sending jobs to China or overseas and increasing the debt there, you're slashing taxes on corporations, and it still, the effect ends up being very similar. It just has a different way to get there. The Republicans kind of pushed, we're basically saving corporations more money so they can reinvest. So honestly, if you want a great answer, both sides I think have reasons and valid reasons for what they did, but I think they're both none of them have provided a great solution.
I think we can all agree that we're losing so badly to China.
Yeah, that's been the consensus on a lot of parties this year. But
China. I've got to have my China. We got one more question here, and we're going to get to some ads. One thing that everyone talks about is itemizing deductions. Sounds great until you realize that less than 100% of Americans actually don't even know what this means. Can you talk us through itemizing deductions a little bit?
Well, I don't know. That the statistic that you quoted it sounds like it counts me out a little bit. If it's do you say more than 100% don't know?
No, I think it was less than, and also it came from a National Center for the Education Statistics children's website. Create a graph that I made earlier today.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. So itemized deductions. So to put it into like really basic terms, because that's how I think. I'm a very basic thinker. An itemized deduction is a deduction that you can take in lieu or instead of the standard deduction. Now, these itemized deductions come into play if you have a mortgage, or you have, let's say, I think moving expenses falls in there, or interest expenses for some items. And also if you make charitable donations throughout the year. So if all of those things lumped together basically meet a certain threshold or over, in this year it would be the $12,000, you might choose to itemize instead of take the standard deduction. And what that is it would be subtracted from your original income, and it brings you back to your AGI or your adjusted gross income. So it's basically like which path do you take? If you're familiar with the board game of life, right? Or I think Candyland had the same thing. You could choose one way or the other. You're still going to end up getting to the same spot. The hope is that you save more money in taxes. If you have a lot of itemized deductions, it can reduce your adjusted gross income. And just kind of as a quick tip for everybody, adjusted gross income is what you actually get taxed on. So you want that to be as low as possible.
Two points here. Number one, I think you're thinking of Monopoly, which has both income tax and luxury tax.
Yeah,
and then my second point here is that, so you're saying if I donate 100% of my income to charitable donations, I'm not paying any taxes this year.
Yeah, but you're also you have no money to do anything else either. However, there could be a workaround where your charity is the Quinn Foundation.
I think we just found the loophole. I think this is how Donald Trump got elected president.
I don't think that quite works out because I think they'd find you, but.
Oh, we've got some scheming to do this summer, but we'll go off air for this stuff.
I'm gonna be honest. It's probably been tried. In fact, I know for certain it's probably been tried before, but.
I think we've got some things in the hopper. We're going to be talking later. Let's get to some ads here, and then we're going to get to my taxes, which is what everyone and no one wants to hear about at the same time.
Right,
so, yeah, feel free to sip some water if you'd like.
We'll do that.
Have a Jack's Pizza. Okay. Home Pride, Oregon. Are you tired of selling your house for less than a quarter of what it's worth, all because you couldn't find a reliable home inspector in time? Well, Oregon listeners, there's good news. Home Pride Inspection Services in Bend, Oregon is Central Oregon's hottest new home inspection provider with inspection services including things like heating and cooling, roofing, plumbing, and so much more. Home Pride Oregon is both contractor certified and home inspection certified, so you know you're getting the good stuff. If you're tired of big real estate stranglehold on the home inspection market and you want a safe, certified home inspector that you can trust, call Steve at 541-207-1101 or visit homeprideoregon.com. That's 541-207-1101 or visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride, Oregon, inspection perfection. I want to give a shout out to the Samsung Q2U series, pulling double duty tonight. Beautiful, crisp, clean, elegant audio quality, getting Matthew on one end and Quinn David Furness, host of the Beantown podcast, on the other end. Remember, oh man, walked into that one. You're messing up the ad. Samsung's not going to pay me. Jeez. I'm not going to be able to write this off on my taxes next year. Don't forget, when God speaks, he uses a Samsung. Quick shout out to the TV Guide. Using my Spirit Delta Airlines Sky Points that I earned throughout 2018, I was able to get a year-long subscription to the TV Guide subscription service. And I will say this, TV Guide, if you're listening, I would really love when the Connors returns without Roseanne, because it used to be called Roseanne, now it's going to be called the Connors. If you got a spread with John Goodman and on it says he's back, I would love that. Maybe he's wearing plaid. I think that would be a good look. So just something to consider as you're printing more and more issues, etc. Cuts by Q. Last one. Bob and weave. We all know the hairstyle. We all love it. But how many Midtown Baltimore-based independent barbers can actually give it to you the way you deserve? Also, that's what she said.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There's a lot of innuendos in these ads. Who wrote these? Enter Cuts by Q. It's like Enter Sandman, but different. Cuts by Q has been independently... I can't do it. Cuts by Q has been independently owned and operated since 1995 and is probably one of the better barbershop operations serving Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Cook County, Illinois. From beehives to bangs, faux hawks to flat tops, and everything in between, call Cuts by Q at 815-298-7200 or email cutsbyq@yahoo.com. That's Cuts, Q-U-T-Z by Q, at yahoo.com. Oh, when you need a fresh do, something snappy and new, just call the experts at Cuts by Q. All right. Well, thanks. Last week I botched the song, but I was also trying to sing it as Garrison Keeler.
I think it was bad until you called it out afterwards, and then I started thinking about it.
Well, the worst part was last week when I recorded, it was late Saturday night. I think that's right. So I was at the bar, and I was walking back, and I was buzzed, and I'm thinking to myself, I gave myself this fresh new cut today, courtesy of Cuts by Q. I really should advertise on the podcast, and if I'm going to advertise, I'm going to need to do something a little different. So I'm thinking a jingle would be nice. So I spent the better part of my walk home from the bar just trying to write a jingle in my head, come up with things that rhyme, fun, fresh tunes, and eventually I got it right where I wanted. And so I recorded it on my phone. I still have the original copy of that. And I was really excited, and then I get 40 minutes in my podcast, and I'm doing the ad in Garrison Keillor's voice, trying not to break. And I started on the wrong tone, and from there it was.
You can't recover from that. It's very hard to do.
No, maybe if I was sober, but yeah, it didn't make it. Well, we are joined by tax auditor, accountant to the stars, and lead guitarist and vocalist for the Beantown Podcast Unplugged series, Matthew Fiedler. Welcome back to the Beantown Podcast. How was your halftime? Did you get anything productive done?
Yeah, I just had a sip of my whiskey and Coke, and I'm charged and ready to go. So.
Who are you drinking tonight?
Jack.
Nice, good call. I got some. I have some Maker's Mark bourbon.
That's the good stuff though. That's pretty good.
Maker's Mark was the the last in my bourbon taste test, which was a Beantown Unplugged series you can check out on YouTube.
I would also recommend Bullet Bourbon's pretty good as well.
Bullet's great. I've toured it. It was awesome. It was fun. It was me and 10 couples. I felt a little weird, but you know what? I had fun. So that's all that matters. I'm glad you mentioned Kentucky, though. This was interesting. One more thing, and then I promise we're going to get back to taxes. I was working today, leading a workshop for some high schoolers, and somebody left behind. I don't know if it was one of the high schoolers or if it was somebody in a class before. They left behind a Churchill Downs Kentucky Derby beanie. Not like anything special, but, a nice kind of interesting thing. And, I did my due diligence, took it around all the high schoolers, say, is this yours, yada, yada, yada. No one claimed it. So I'm now the owner of a Churchill Downs hat.
Congratulations. That's pretty great.
Thank you.
Did you disinfect it? Or?
Well, it's in my laundry hamper. I'll be washing it in the next load. So in about 3 months or so, it'll be all clean here. All right. Well, we are talking taxes. It is our 2019 second annual tax special where Quinn kind of releases his taxes live on the air, and we're joined by Matthew Fiedler, who's done it all. He knows the tax code like he knows other things.
Exactly. I think that really answers a lot of questions.
So
people will have.
Yeah, let's dig into my taxes here and talk through some of the deductions that I'm looking at taking in 2019. First thing, I spent about 8 hours at jury duty this year, made $15. What are my options?
I think your options are just forget about it. I don't. So technically that is income, but yeah, it's so small it's not going to change anything. So I wouldn't claim it, and I don't think you're going to get any deductions for it.
I wonder if there's like a form XQ Y-wing bomber attack run I could fill out or something, but I'll be in touch with my local circuit court, and we'll see. We'll see what they say. You know what? I realized this when I was at jury duty a couple weeks ago. At least the way it's set up in Baltimore City is anyone can just go show up for jury duty because of the way they do the check-in process. One, it's not until everyone has compiled themselves into their rooms. But two, because they do it in so many different waves, there's no way they can keep track of who's, actually supposed to be there, who's not. So I'm thinking one of these days, I only I know they only call you in once a year, or they're supposed to, but I might start taking jury duty once a week because they would never even know. Right? What's that?
Do you get a free lunch with that?
No free lunch. Apparently, there were they had some sort of discount partnership with some of the local downtown shops and restaurants. There was nothing free about it, although you get paid $15, but you only get the money if you check in. So I'm saying I'm not worried about the money. I'm here to help you. So
well, I would also say that if I were in any legal issues and I needed a jury, I would just invite my friends to kind of show up.
We're finding loopholes. The IRS is going to be fumigated after listening to this. Infumigated after listening to this episode of the Beantown Podcast. I think we should title this episode with some sort of really zippy title, like "You won't believe what the IRS wants you to not know." Yeah, boy, we've been coming up with a lot of good ideas. What they don't want you to know.
A fun fact for you and your listeners, though, if you spell out the IRS, it spells theirs, which is kind of a joke about taxes and how they take everything from you. But
so I'm doing it in my head. Internal Revenue Service. I'm not getting it. Talk us through that.
It's just the IRS. IRS. Theirs.
Now, there's THEIRS. There's also THEY''RES.
It'll probably make a connection, I think.
We'll circle back to this one because I don't want to drop it just yet. We all know joining the military equals a huge tax cut, which equals money, money, money. If I was looking to join the military for this sweet bonus, which branch should I choose, and how does the creation of Space Force impact that?
Now, I feel like I kind of feel like an ass for. I feel like all these great ideas I'm shooting down with like really large doses of reality. So first of all, I apologize because I sound like a stuffy, boring accountant. But technically, you wouldn't get a bonus. A tax credit is normally just tax that you it reduces what you'd end up having to pay, so it's not like free money necessarily. However, I don't have too much experience with military tax deductions. I believe, I could be wrong, you get maybe a specialized deduction. However, I think you get an additional deduction if you're in active service. So if you're actually let's say overseas or in an active zone, your deductions are greater than if you are on like in the reserves. But yeah, the Space Force though, that seems like something that would be worth checking out.
I know I listened to a little bit of Mike Pence's CPAC speech last week, and he was really getting the crowd riled up about Space Force. So things to think about.
The best thing to come from all of this talk about the Space Force is probably the show that's coming out on Netflix with Steve Carell called The Space Force.
Oh, is there a thing?
Yeah, and it's from the producers of The Office. So I have high hopes, and I think that there's a silver lining to this all.
Wow, Matthew's teaching us about taxes, arts and entertainment, technology. You got like half of the Trivial Pursuit pieces right here in front of us. This is pretty cool. Yep. So
comment to that because I'm just gonna ride this wave.
Fair enough.
Until I say something stupid again.
Now I was thinking about this in the shower before we recorded, and I didn't.
Okay, be careful about what you say next. It could be taken right or wrong.
Open arms. We all know it. Some of us have attended a service. I'm pretty sure I was getting paid under the table. Are there any sort of reparations that the IRS is going to be looking for, 6-7 years later?
Yeah, so for those of you who do not know, Quinn is referring to a music gig that he had at this. Was it a Lutheran church?
Open Arms Lutheran Church.
Lutheran church, and it seems like they were paying him under the table, which, for those of you who are a little bit slower, there doesn't have to be a table involved. It's basically just paying cash. However, the downside from this, and what I say is kind of, I don't know, a fault of the Lutheran faith over at that church. Doesn't God say give to Caesar what is Caesar's? Technically, they should have been paying employer taxes, or at least giving you a 1099.
I will say that I went to Little Caesars frequently that year in high school, so I think depending on your interpretation.
So ultimately, you gave to Little Caesars what was Little Caesars.
That's it. Yeah.
For the pizza. Okay, I can get there.
I feel like I had tax forms at some point. I don't know. I also wasn't doing my taxes when I was 18, so maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
We should launch
I think it does it only if you run for office in the future. It might be a pain in the ass because someone's going to find out and dig it up. But other than that, I would say you're probably okay.
The Lutherans, I need that crowd for my potential run when I want to run for Congress in Minnesota's northern districts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Here's a straightforward one for you. Can I claim myself as a dependent? I am a lot to manage.
I know you are, but technically no. You cannot claim yourself as a dependent. You rather would use a personal exemption for yourself, which means that you are free to take the standard deduction. So, yeah, you're not really dependent on yourself.
What if I have a doctor's note substantiating the fact that I'm a schizophrenic?
This gets into a tricky part, but I think by the state you are identified as an individual person, even though your faculties may suggest otherwise. It's kind of like this mob mentality where everyone else thinks that you're just one person, so you are.
Do people in Washington, D.C. do state taxes? How does that work?
I think they do. I'm going to be honest with you, though. I'm not quite sure how their tax forms are just due to the fact that they are state employees. Well, if you are in legislation or if you are in Congress, I'm not quite sure. I'm assuming the process is as straightforward as anybody else's. But I also don't know the caveats on what taxes they pay. And if it's slightly different than the rest of us, but
Washington,
technically
D.C.
it's money. It's a government job, so those are taxed differently.
Yeah, but what if you work at the Starbucks in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, then you're probably just you're like everybody else.
But you don't have a state.
Yeah, that's a good point. To work around that, I just probably wouldn't live there. You can commute there.
It's a good idea. It's very expensive. Yeah, I like your way of thinking here. Claiming pets as dependents. Your thoughts?
If your pet has a social security number, then it's probably okay. If they don't, then not so much. This was a problem back in, I believe, the 60s and the 70s. Probably before that, but you're coming across people who would claim Donald Duck and Daffy, and the IRS kind of caught on that there's no way to really substantiate that these dependents that were being put down were individual people. So they started requiring social security numbers for each of your dependents, as well as yourself and your spouse. So I think if your pet has a social security number, you could probably get away with it.
This sounds like the birth of Obama tapping, if you ask me. There's a whole nother hour for us to talk about.
Yeah, it probably is.
A couple more questions here. This one's about Beantown. Is there anything in the tax code that discusses what to do when your podcast reaches 5,000 listens? For instance, a lot of companies talk about going public. Is this something that I should be considering moving forward? Also, how does introducing a brand new, sleek, elegant website with domain name beantownpodcast.com impact things? A lot wrapped into that question.
Yeah, I'm going to just kind of break it down. Where to begin? I'm going to start at the beginning, okay? So the tax code, I don't think it explicitly singles you out. There's a lot in the tax code, but I just did a quick control find for Beantown, and nothing came up, so I think you're probably good there. However, I don't think you're quite ready to go public. And don't take that as an insult, but I think that it's probably not good for your budget and infrastructure at the time. Give it a year or two, and you could go public. However, if you were to go public, you could be double taxed, and this is. Do you want to open this can of worms?
It sounds like the socialists getting their way.
Oh yeah. So technically, you could file a Schedule C this year, which basically means you have a company or a podcast, Beantown. So it's kind of its entity. However, you are solely responsible for it, so it's not a separate entity. Now, if you were to start an LLC or a limited liability corporation for Beantown, like Beantown LLC.
I like how that sounds.
Yeah, I know, it has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? It would be its own separate entity. But right now, most people, if they like have a job from their house, or they could be like a nanny or babysitter or anything like that. If they get a 1099 even, they'll file a Schedule C. And the way that I look at it for you, especially this year, you recently shout out to your fundraising profits. Technically, that's income for Beantown. So you would have to claim it as income, and then for you would probably document the expenses that came out of it, and the difference is taxable revenue. That's the right way to do it. Off the record, I'm going to say, I know I'm still on the record, but it's such a small amount, and to be fair, all that money, as you kind of broke down, is spoken for, so it is tied to an expense, so there's no actual revenue that's flowing through you. So at the end of the day, I feel like you could justify, the IRS is not going to come after you for $300 of income, probably, but you could justify that it is all going straight to expense. So I think you're okay without filing a Schedule C this year. But that's my somewhat educated opinion.
You've given us a lot to think about. Beantown LLC, a Quinn David Furnace company. I don't know. I kind of, it would be nice to add to the end of the show. The NASDAQ. How do we get on that?
Well, yeah, this kind of taps into the going public and being a major driver in the industry, because the industry kind of has these certain companies. You've probably heard of like the FANG, which is Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. Them grouped together are basically large drivers in the tech industry. And a lot of investors kind of bundle together certain groups or groupings, and that looking at their fluctuations or their profitability or their health kind of help them judge where the stock market's going and trends and what have you. You would be lumped into probably media groups, and yeah, maybe next year, after you go public, that's a conversation that we can talk about and revisit.
Got so much to talk about. Wow.
Yeah, we do.
This is all happening right at the end. I got two more questions for you, and then we're gonna let you go. There's a lot in this first one though. There's a lot of creative flexibility on your end. A lot of people know that getting married can cut your taxes in half. And a lot of other people know that keeping all your gold locked up in the Cayman Islands is a quick way to financial security. But what a lot of other people don't know about is getting married in the Cayman Islands. Why should engaged couples who are looking at destination wedding locations consider the Caymans this year? Your thoughts?
It's just, well, one, it's a lot warmer than where I am currently. That in itself makes it very enticing. As far as tax benefits, good question. You're taxed on where you live. So essentially going to the Caymans, that's probably not going to help you too much. But I hear it's a wonderful place. So
Cayman Islands versus Swiss bank accounts. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. Whenever I think Cayman Islands, I think of like alligators. And whenever I think of Swiss, I think of either cheese or chocolate. So I would say the Swiss bank accounts sound a little bit more exciting.
Now, a lot of people know that Switzerland was neutral in World War II, but do you know which side the Cayman Islands fought for?
I think they were just kind of doing their own thing. I'm going to be honest with you. Probably just fighting sunburn opposed to actual war.
Too busy hosting destination weddings, I suppose.
Yeah, that's probably true.
All right, last question for you. You're known for being the biggest, baddest tax auditor in all of Northern Illinois. Have you ever considered going after the big fish? Matthew Fiedler audits the IRS. Talk to us.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, never thought of it. The IRS technically audit you at the end of the year. So to audit an auditor is something, it's very Inception-like. It could be done. Basically, what you'd end up doing is the audit would consist of testing their public controls, because you don't want someone who's probably lazy and just saying, okay, yep, that's good, You want to actually verify that they're doing their job. And so that's kind of what an audit would probably look like for them, making sure the controls are in place, that they're being followed, and then you'd probably randomly select returns or look into open amounts that the IRS has disputed or what have you, and make sure that there's valid reasons for what they've done. It sounds like they're very understaffed, though. So I don't know. An audit for them, it would be very rough to work alongside it. It would definitely not happen in the next few months because I know they're going to be fairly busy coming up. But
So you're saying it might be a better screenplay than an actual life event.
well, I don't know. It depends on how exciting you find auditing. To most of my friends, and shout out to my girlfriend, Jonky, she doesn't think that accounting's all that exciting. I'll tell great accounting jokes, and I think my humor's gotten pretty dry as of recent years. The more that you get stuck in a cubicle working on numbers, it just doesn't make you a funny person. So it could be a very boring screenplay is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm thinking there could, one word for you, infiltration. I'm thinking maybe you expose the lies and the other happenings at the IRS. Maybe they've been taking too much of their cut for years and years. I'm thinking like National Treasure mixed with the Firm mixed with the Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know. I think there's something there.
Man, that's a pretty exciting love child from all those movies.
Oh, the greatest menage a trois in history.
Yeah, it's true.
That's another screenplay I'm going to be working on.
You've given me a lot to think about. Would I be able to choose who plays me?
Yeah, but it has to be Zach Braff.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. was going for like a young Dustin Hoffman type figure.
You're never going to give that up.
No, not really. I guess if John Cusack has a child, I don't know about a son. Probably doesn't matter if it's a son or a daughter. They all look the same. It's a Cusack, so.
This is true. Oh, man. Well, we are reaching the end here. 55 minutes of thought-provoking tax discussions on our 2019 taxes podcast. Matthew, we're getting to our closing remarks here. Is there anything you want to plug while you're here live on the air?
Anything I want to plug? Nothing in particular. I would just say be fiscally responsible this coming year and get your taxes done before, probably try to do it before April. Otherwise you'll just forget. Legally, you should have all your tax documents by this point. I think the legal stipulation is the end of February. So you should have everything you need to get started and knock out your taxes. It's not as scary as people think. You can get them kicked back, and you fix it, you resubmit, and you keep chugging.
And when is tax day this year?
It's the 15th, and in fact, it's always still the 15th. However, there was a period in prior years where it was the 18th, but that was because the 15th was a Saturday, and there was some weird stipulation with the dates, so it can't actually occur on a Saturday or Sunday. It has to fall on a weekday.
Now, does the IRS need the forms by the 15th, or are we talking postmarked by the 15th?
So I believe if it's postmarked by the 15th, you're okay, actually. However, you can also file extensions if you know that you don't have all your tax documents in order, or let's say you're waiting on a reissued W-2 that was given to you and it was wrong. You can actually file an extension, and that gives you a little bit of a grace period.
Wow.
I think you can even do that through TurboTax. You can file an extension. I could be wrong, but...
This has turned into an hour-long advertisement for TurboTax.
I think you can do it with TaxSlayer as well and H&R Block online.
What about...
I'll just show love there.
Let's see. What about... there's that one. It's not Edward James almost. There's another bank. Schwab. What about Charles Schwab?
What about him, I guess? What do you want to know?
It's a fun name, Schwab.
It is pretty good. I always, whenever I hear the name Charles Schwab, I think of those commercials of yesteryear where they had this weird, like, 90s type of filter over the people talking where they made them look kind of like cartoons. Do you remember that at all?
I don't, but I'll have to go look it up.
Oh, you should look it up. Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff on YouTube of it. But, yeah, it really painted a lasting impression of Charles Schwab in my mind.
Well, Matthew, you've given us a lot to think about, a lot to chew on, a lot to sleep on as we approach, where are we, about 30-some days until tax day in America. Closing remarks here. Any last thoughts for the listeners?
I would say thanks for sticking it out, listening to a lot of this information. Also, fact check it to make sure that's 100% accurate, because you can't believe everything you hear, just some of what you hear. So
that's a pretty good description of the Beantown podcast in general, I think.
In general, well, I think it's nice you tag it at the very beginning, like this is the leading source for misinformation, because it just covers your ass. Like,
oh yeah,
literally anything past that point, anything goes.
Yeah, I don't want to be subpoenaed. Yeah, subpoenaed. I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
I can't go to court. I already missed a day for jury duty last week. So.
Yeah, technically you already went to court. It just wasn't for
exactly.
you, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Matthew, for everything. Apologies for I'm getting phone notifications. My phone is blowing up. I think Final Jeopardy, my mom just sent to me, so we're going to have to answer that later. But thanks again to dear friend of the podcast, Matthew Fiedler, taking us through all things taxes and putting up with my questions, which I got to him about 20 seconds before we started recording.
Anytime.
Yeah, for all of us here at the Beantown Podcast, good night, good luck. Check out beantownpodcast.com, the Beantown blog, all that good stuff updated here and there. Quinn David Furness, Beantown Podcast, signing off. Everyone have a good week. Very excited. Next week is the birthday podcast. You remember from last year, we sat down with a bottle of wine and one of those frozen Pepperidge Farm cakes. We're doing it year 2 again this year. It's going to be huge. We're going to be reading more wine labels. It's going to be a good time. So make sure you tune in for that. Otherwise, that's what we got for you. So thanks for listening. Hope everyone has a good week. Get your taxes done. Call Matthew with any questions you have because he knows all this stuff. And otherwise, we are going to check in on you next week.